Actual meeting of the Council of Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc.
I thought you called me up.
On Monday, January 13th.
Recording in progress.
The purpose of this meeting is to unveil the service delivery review. I thought though I would read what our vision is. I think that's important. Strathroy-Caradoc's communities will provide economic opportunities, well-being, and places to call home for residents and businesses. Roll call, looks like Councillor Derbyshire. There's Councillor Derbyshire. So we're all here. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting. Councillor Kennis, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Before we go into the presentation of the service delivery review, a motion to receive the report first. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Hippel. All in favor? Carried. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the CAO, who will turn it over to Strategy Corp.
Thank you, Worship. Before you today on the agenda is the service delivery review report completed by Strategy Corp. We have Julie Gagnon and Chris Loretto from Strategy Corp here today to go through the presentation. There'll be an opportunity for questions as well. And then I will be bringing back to Council on February 18th an implementation strategy for the plan, so we can have some further discussion and talk about prioritization and timelines and really start to get into things with the plan. So I did want to let you know that's scheduled for February the 18th. What I'll do is I'll turn it over to Julie and Chris and let them talk about the plan.
Great, thanh you, Madam CAO, and Your Worship, to you and Council. First off, I'll turn it over to Julie to walk us through the highlights of the report, but I do want to say once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to work with Strathroy-Caradoc. You have a fantastic community here, and through the course of this study, we've come certainly to appreciate the strengths of this municipality and some of the opportunities and challenges that it faces over the coming years and if not the coming decades. And ultimately what we found through undertaking this service delivery review is that the organization runs fairly lean, but it really is important that it begin to turn its mind to how it's going to help, how it's going to work with the community to navigate that growth and help to do so in an orderly fashion in a way that ensures that the municipality continues to thrive. So a lot of the recommendations here are really in the vein of thinking through how the organization can build capacity, not just people capacity, but having the kind of the tools and frameworks and governance necessary to address the growth and what are changing resident expectations in terms of the quality of the delivery of municipal services, and also begin to manage some of the risks associated with shepherding a municipality that is growing through that growth process. There are some opportunities that we've identified to generate greater efficiencies or cost savings, particularly through shared services opportunities. But most of our recommendations really are about helping the municipality meet the challenge that is coming towards it. And we'll have Julie, I'll turn it over to Julie now to kind of talk about what the specifics around what that looks like is going forward. So once again, thank you for the opportunity. I'll turn it over to Julie.
Thanks, Chris, and thank you, Your Worship, through you to members of Council. Pleased to be here tonight. So our presentation tonight is going to focus on the first part of the service delivery review that is in your Council agenda package. So we will focus on that executive summary. We will highlight key findings, go through the priority initiatives, as well as some next steps. That said, we will be prepared to answer any questions that you may have regarding the full report. So our work in conducting this service delivery review was informed by a robust stakeholder engagement, and that included engaging with members of Council, engaging with your administration, your staff, and with the community in general. So we did so through surveys, through focus groups, and one-on-one interviews. And we also conducted an in-depth review of documents provided by your team, and that included budget data, staffing information, process, policy, and procedural frameworks. So through our review, we identified several themes that are critical to how we framed our recommendations that are included in your report. Strathroy-Caradoc stands at a critical juncture, as Chris mentioned, with some challenges in corporate culture, some leadership and staff turnover, infrastructure, and community engagement. So that high turnover and some outdated practices have impacted morale and some operations, and there are some resourcing gaps that really necessitate a shift towards future-ready capabilities, and you'll see that identified within the report. We also noted that as part of our review, modernizing infrastructure and fostering proactive community engagement will be essential to build trust and meet expectations moving forward, and that will ensure that you have a resilient and progressive future. Our analysis also highlighted pressures from evolving resident expectations, and that came out through the community survey and some focus groups that we held. And this requires that Strathroy-Caradoc enhance its communication and adopt some modernized approaches to balance the needs of both long-term and new community members. Some key challenges we noted include fragmented infrastructure planning, outdated technology, gaps in project management practices. So while the municipality benefits from a knowledgeable and committed workforce, there's some cultural alignment, high turnover, and some gaps in succession planning that are in some ways hindering your efficiency and morale across the organization. So addressing these issues through improved resource allocation and modernization is going to be critical to support sustainability and growth. So the current state assessment, you'll recall, we presented to council in September, and it detailed opportunities to strengthen relationships between staff and council, as well as the community, and that really emphasized trust and two-way communication. We also noted as part of the current state report that enhancing customer service delivery across all levels to meet resident expectations and aligning operations with council strategic goals will be key to your success. So for reference, most elements of the current state report are included within the appendices of the report. And within there, we identified 20 enterprise-wide and 15 department-specific opportunities to address those challenges and to really drive service delivery improvements. And from those findings, we refined those 35 into 6 priority initiatives that have a number of sub-initiatives, and that will help guide Strathroy-Caradoc's operating model within the final report that is presented to you today. So that gives you the framework and the engagement approach and some of the context within which we were developing out our recommendations. So from those findings, we have those 6 priority initiatives that focus on governance and culture, risk mitigation, organizational design, digital modernization, customer service, and preparing Strathroy-Caradoc for population-driven growth. So each of those priority areas aligns with Council's vision of sustainability, inclusivity, and prosperity, and provide a clear roadmap for achieving strategic goals. So I'll ask the clerk to advance to slide 9, which takes us to the priority initiatives. So the first priority initiative focuses on strengthening governance structures and fostering organizational culture that really promotes strategic decision-making and trust within the municipality. Sub-initiatives include enhancing governance through improved communication and decision-making frameworks, streamlining council decision processes to aid in ensuring that council has what they need to make data-driven decisions, and developing a strategy to improve organizational culture as well as internal communications. So these actions really aim to enhance transparency, collaboration, as well as staff morale, while aligning actions that your administration is undertaking with council's strategic objectives. Some additional measures include implementing departmental business planning to ensure that your operation is in sync or closely aligned with council's strategic goals. And that will help increase accountability, manage stakeholder expectations. As well, enhancing policy and procedure compliance will help ensure your operations remain effective and adaptable to the evolving legislative environment within which you work. This will help you foster a more efficient and resilient governance framework. The second priority area is risk mitigation, and this focuses on implementing cost-effective risk management strategies that will help safeguard Strathroy-Caradoc's fiscal and reputation while enhancing your resilience. So some key actions we've noted within the report include strengthening long-term core asset management and investment to ensure service reliability and sustainability, and developing a comprehensive business continuity plan to maintain operations in the event of disruption. Some additional measures include creating standard operating procedures, given the extent of turnover that you've seen in recent years, and that will help ensure consistency as well as compliance across departments. Conducting rolling bylaw reviews will help ensure that the bylaws that you're using within the municipality are both effective and relevant, and establishing a dedicated project manager position for projects, major capital projects is another recommendation. So altogether, these recommendations or initiatives improve oversight, support risk mitigation, enhance operational efficiency, and align infrastructure and services with your strategic goals. So the third priority, and Brianna's already advanced, great, thanks. This optimizes your organizational design and staffing to meet the desired service levels and enhance efficiency. So some of the key actions we've included incorporate a comprehensive strategic capacity and resourcing plan, or it's often referred to as an HR plan or a people plan. And this will align your people or your human capital with your strategic goals. And through this plan, it will support improved retention and prepare for leadership transitions and support succession planning as well. So these initiatives call for establishing an integrated communications and customer service team to provide cohesive public relations and enhance responsiveness. Those were desires expressed through the community survey and through our council engagement. As well, leveraging shared services with the County of Middlesex is proposed within the report to reduce costs and improve service delivery in some areas and achieve greater operational efficiency through collaboration with tried and tested services delivered by Middlesex County to other municipalities in Middlesex. The fourth priority initiative focuses on targeting a modern, adaptable, and efficient Strathroy-Caradoc through digital modernization. And this involves developing a digital services and IT strategic plan by reviewing current technology systems and processes to ensure that they are scalable and easy to implement, but also support efficiencies. So this initiative aims to enhance Strathroy-Caradoc's ability to serve the public by aligning IT investments with the services that they're looking for and your service needs. It'll help position you to plan for the future and future growth and keep up to date with emerging technologies. So in essence, it provides a framework for IT investments that supports organizational goals while facilitating better budgeting, planning, and implementation of technology solutions. As we know, it's hard to keep up with how quickly technology is evolving, and I'm sure this is a discussion that you're having as you undertake your budget deliberations. So the fifth priority initiative focuses on enhancing service delivery systems and expanding engagement to better meet resident expectations. Some key actions include developing a comprehensive communication and community engagement strategy, which will help support and strengthen your relations with your community members. That will help support council and administration in being transparent in their actions and provide insights into community priorities, because this encourages two-way communication with your community members. Additionally, this priority initiative involves implementing a customer relationship management system, which will help centralize resident interactions, streamline service delivery, and enable data-driven decision-making. So essentially, this is a software or a platform that helps you track customer inquiries that are received by the municipality and helps avoid duplication of inquiries across departments and streamlines that experience for your end user or community member. As well, a customer service policy and training program is a recommendation for the municipality to develop to ensure that your customer service is consistent and of a high standard, supporting high quality interactions across all of your municipal services. This will help foster trust and satisfaction among your residents. And the final priority initiative prepares Strathroy-Caradoc to scale and meet increased service demands. And key actions include streamlining the development approvals process to improve efficiency and customer experience, fostering local growth and satisfaction among developers and residents. This initiative also emphasizes developing a comprehensive economic development strategy to help position Strathroy-Caradoc as a competitive location for businesses and investments, really drive economic prosperity and support job creation. Additional measures involve planning for a composite model day shift for fire services, which will help prepare you to ensure community safety during a period of growth, and expanding bylaw enforcement services to neighboring municipalities to help generate additional revenue and enhance service capacity for Strathroy-Caradoc. So if we jump ahead to the section for organizational design, you'll see the review has proposed adjustments to your organizational structure, and this is guided by 9 design principles, which emphasize clarity, adaptability, flexibility, and engagement. And the principles themselves include fostering agility, customer-centric service, proactive service delivery, continuous improvement, knowledge continuity, collaborative integration, strategic resourcing, cultivating a positive culture, and driving digital transformation. So the proposed organizational design streamlines senior administration by reducing the number of direct reports to the CAO from 8 to 6, and establishing a new infrastructure and growth division. The division consolidates economic development, building, planning, and bylaw services to align with growth objectives. Oversight of customer service transitions from financial services to legal and legislative services within this proposed model. And this is to enhance alignment with communications and supports an integrated approach to governance and service delivery. As well, in the green box, you'll see an option for council's consideration includes elevating the Economic Development Commissioner role to a director level role to further drive economic growth and planning integration. So finally, we identified the next steps for council's consideration, and that wraps up the executive summary section of the report. And the service delivery review really emphasizes a forward-looking planning that takes the municipality beyond day-to-day management. And this requires strategic decisions that are grounded in a really comprehensive understanding of the distinct roles and challenges faced by both council and administration. So council's active participation is critical in ensuring service excellence by working collaboratively with administration to align service levels with municipal goals and to foster continuous improvement and support long-term growth for Strathroy-Caradoc. So the priority initiatives that we've outlined in this comprehensive service delivery review provide council with a roadmap for achieving your strategic goals. These initiatives focus on strengthening governance and fostering a culture of trust, implementing cost-effective risk management strategies, optimizing your organizational design and staffing, embracing digital modernization, enhancing service delivery and engagement, and preparing for the growth that you are anticipating. Throughout our review, we considered how each of these priorities aligned with your strat plan, and it closely aligns with the vision you have, which is for a dynamic community where residents thrive in a sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous environment. So these are the priorities that will guide council and administration in making informed decisions that drive excellence and support a vibrant future for your community. So with that, Your Worship, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Excuse me, before we turn over for questions, I want to thank Julie, yourself, Chris, and your team from Strategy Corp for all the work that you did. It's greatly appreciated. And to me, it's a great report. That being said, let's open it up for questions. Are there any questions from members of council? Okay. Raise your hand kind of there, Councillor Wilson.
I was just waiting to see if anybody else had
Yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I wanted to just ask some questions. Down in the appendices, we have a review of each of the different departments and their spending for their operating budgets, and where we've got those blue lines that show where they're at. And when I look at that, I read that as to most of the departments showing 30 to 50% of their operations budget not being spent because that blue line's going up. We've had directors report contrary to this, where they're spending 90 to 100% of their budget, which isn't what this shows for the same years that are here. Could I have you speak a little bit to where these numbers came from and how you found the surpluses in the operating budgets? How you came to the numbers in the report?
Yeah, so through you, Your Worship, to the councillor. So the financial data was provided by staff, but what we did was we consolidated various different activities under categories. So we had legislative and legal services, community services, and things like that. So it shows things. It shows both what was allocated and then what was spent in the aggregate. There are a number of areas where it does show that not everything was spent, which would seem to be consistent with the annual surpluses that the municipality has been running over the last number of years. We didn't go into the reasons for this. We didn't get into the specifics of why there may have been underspending in certain budgets. We were more focused in on understanding kind of the scope of each let's call them programmatic areas, responsibilities, and then looking at how they were structured and how they were delivering services. In terms of why there may have been some specific underspend, it would probably be something that is worth looking at in particular as you consider budgets for this year and future years to understand what the plan is to spend what the proposed allocations are by service category. So all I'm saying is we looked at things, we aggregated it. There is an underspend. It's consistent. The municipality's been prudent in terms of running surpluses and not running deficits. And we didn't look at the specifics as to why the underspend. We did look at how the various areas were working and their capacity, whether or not they needed tools or they required restructuring to better deliver service.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to that, based on just your high-level overview, realizing you're not that far into it, because I found the same thing when I looked at your numbers. They aligned very well with our audited books that we're looking at, and they line up with the surpluses, and all of that made sense to me. The numbers aligned. Would you see that there would be enough savings or surpluses that are in our budgets where we could probably implement this plan without having to increase our budget to implement this? Should there be enough savings in there to be able to do that? If I'm looking, it's 30 to 50% in our operations budget. Your scope was about $5 to $6 million, so there should be a couple $1 million there that we could use that's typically unspent. At least those are the numbers I came to.
Yeah, I mean, not being intimately involved with how you're doing your budgeting for this year, but certainly if based on past years, you probably could have found in-year savings to pay for some of the investments that you're going to should you adopt the recommendations that we've put forward in this report, you could probably have found in your savings to invest in some of those things, whether those were investments in technology or investments in new processes, things of that nature. In terms of going forward, I haven't seen with the budget presentation. I think you guys are dealing with budget tonight. I can't speak as to whether or not there'd be sufficient funds budgeted there to implement the recommendations. But certainly in the past, yeah, there probably was capacity to invest within existing allocations for some of the recommendations that we're putting forward.
Any other questions? Councillor Pelkman, sorry. Oh, sorry, Julie, I didn't see, did you?
I just wanted to note that what we presented is high level, and it doesn't contemplate reserves. So whether any of that surplus money has been redirected to reserves was not an area that we explored, but is worth noting for context.
Sorry, Councillor Pelkman.
Yes, thank you, through you to Strategy Corp. So when I'm looking at the tasks and I look at our organization, and it's to me it's very flat, and we have very few decision makers, and things get bunched up at the director level, I would say. And I'm looking at some of these tasks. Am I safe to make the assumption that when we try to accomplish some of these, I have a hard time seeing our own directors accomplishing these tasks because they have their heads still stuck in day-to-day operations. So we'd be bringing in somebody from the outside, most likely, to accomplish some of these tasks. Is that a safe assumption?
So a number of the priority initiative areas, when we were drafting them and when we thought about implementation, it really came down to some of them are high risk and need to be prioritized over other initiatives. In general, we observed a lack of alignment between operational activities and council's strategic plan as one example, where, you know, leadership team and the CAO and developing an action plan to support council's strategic plan, make sure everybody's on the same page. So some of them are what we would describe as low-hanging fruit or easily implemented by your team. We did suggest additional capacity in areas of greatest risk, so project management, as well as areas of greatest potential, which is economic development. We collapsed and refined the organizational structure to shift communications from financial services to legal and legislative services for an operational improvement, so that things should flow easier without having to add capacity. So that was part of our consideration as well. But when it comes to implementing a number of these, a digital strategy, for example, that is likely to require additional resources. So long answer to a mix of internal and external resources. When it's internal, it's a matter of prioritizing and a matter of greater alignment between staff's operational activities and council's strategic initiatives, and third-party resources to support the development of an economic development plan or an IT strategy.
Any further questions? Yep, we'll go with Councillor Derbyshire, then you, Councillor Brennan. Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you. I just had one on the composite daytime fire model and how that kind of got thrown into it, and what the parameters were based on why we are looking at this model. I see here it does say to increase fire coverage and optimize efficiency. A lot of our inefficiencies are not in the town of Strathroy, they are rural, which I don't think a full-time composite force is going to speed up much of those times. That was, I just wondered.
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Derbyshire. A great question. And what we did was, through our engagement, this came up a couple of different times. So we explored whether it kind of met our threshold for being included in the report that we presented to council. And it did, because when we looked at comparator municipalities who have experienced or are experiencing similar levels of growth, or the anticipated growth that Strathroy-Caradoc is expecting, they have evolved, many of them have evolved their services to include this full-time composite model for fire services. And we included it as an initiative for council to explore without a lot of extra analysis, and that is because the analysis is already underway by the fire department and the fire chief. And so we proposed it as an initiative that council will want to explore further in the future as you grow.
Councilor Derbyshire, follow up?
Okay, I thought it was just kind of something, I didn't realize that the fire service was already working on putting together feasibilities and things like that. For me, I understand why everyone wants to head somewhat in this direction. We build a new hall for that to happen. It's been said for 15 years, we're gonna end up being this, we're gonna end up being this. I think when we come to the financial draw of a full-time composite force, that becomes a huge factor in this that is not going to be figured, because we don't look at things like that. We like to look at, we're at 1,300 events and that's what triggers this happening. But can we afford to do that? And we'll all say, well, it's up to council, it'll be put on council's desk and this and that. But when you keep stacking reports on top of reports that say you should be doing this, it eventually doesn't matter what council says or whether we can afford it, we end up doing things that aren't really in our best interest, but we do them anyways because we think this is what it says to do. So when I saw it on there, I thought it was something that, it's the same with an indoor pool. That was discussed a whole lot at one point, right? And actually in one of our surveys, people put in, they want an indoor pool, want an indoor pool, want an indoor pool. If we went by how many times I saw I want an indoor pool and put it on something, it would make almost every list that they want, right? We know we can't afford an indoor pool. So it doesn't make lists. But just when we get to this stuff, it starts just getting put on and on and on and on, and then eventually everyone's like, well, I guess we need it.
Councilor Brennan, I believe you were next.
Thank you. So I guess the next step then is an implementation plan, and I imagine Strathroy-Corp has worked with many municipal CAOs to craft such a document. Will you be working with our CEO over the next couple of weeks for it on an implementation plan in a resource capacity for our CAO, so when it comes to council, we get a document that certainly reflects what's in here, but also your expertise in having implemented or helped implement these in other locations, and also balancing it with our CAO's input. Is that something that's going to be happening? You're going to have a series of meetings with our CAO to come up with an implementation plan that's going to come to council? Is that how that works? Through to?
Yeah, or to the CAO one.
To the CAO, I suppose, first? Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Through the chair to council, that wasn't part of the scope of the RFP. So the contract that we had with Strategy Corps was to complete this document. I know that Strategy Corps does that, but that would be an additional contract with them to complete that work.
Did you have anything to add to that? I don't think so. Follow up, Councilor Brennan. No? Councilor Wilsey.
If we get to that point, now I want to talk a little bit about implementation and what the timeline looks for putting it in, but I don't know if we do that now or if we do that when we make the motion.
Well, probably we can do that when we make the motion, Councilor. Is that okay with you? We'll do it when we bring the motion.
I just was sort of going to share with council, so what I bring back in February to council has some of the timelines and priorities and when things and estimated timeline for different aspects of this, and that is sort of my thought of when we would talk about sort of the timeline of rolling out the priorities so that they match. So I just wanted to share that with council as to the document that I'm working on.
Any other questions? If no, we can bring the motion regarding implementation. So there is a motion in front of you. The council direct the CAO to draft an implementation plan to be presented to council at a later date. Someone to bring that motion? Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Pelkman. Now open for discussion, Councillor.
So I guess my question is more on, not necessarily on what I've seen, because I haven't seen the document that's coming forward, but just looking at how we implement everything else when we're having reports come forward. I'm going to use the procedure bylaw as an example. Council asked for a report to come forward to discuss at a strategic priorities meeting. That happened in the spring. We had the meeting in September. It's now January. We haven't seen that bylaw come forward yet. So just looking at the time between this report, if it has to do the report and then we accept the report, then it has to go to our strategic priorities and takes 5 months, and then we have to wait for another report and takes 5 months. And my thought is not whether or not we implement it and go forward, but whether or not how much money we need to put in the budget for this year. Just top of mind is the budget and the tax increase that's coming up. And the $400,000 that's allocated in this year's budget. I just want to make sure it makes sense to put that all in this year's capital budget to see how much we're actually going to get done realistically in a calendar year, given the way things move in municipal government.
Fair comment. Any other comments on the motion? Deputy Mayor.
I would be looking for a friendly amendment to put a date for that return report being the 3rd of February. My reason for that is everything I've researched on these type of plans is that they don't sit on a shelf. They were done for a purpose, and we need to get on this. So it needs to be a priority and be returned to us. And that's essentially down the road where we were.
Yep, go ahead.
If I may, if I could ask February 18th. February 3rd means that the report has to be done next week to meet the agenda. So I need a little bit more time with it being presented tonight and bringing it back to council. So my date I was proposing was February 18th, which is the second meeting in February.
Is that Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I'm surprised the report isn't essentially completed by now, though. We've received this report 2 months ago.
Okay, so you're okay, February 18th?
I don't think there's a choice then, but then I'll make my friendly amendment for the 18th of February.
Okay. Who brought the motion?
Councillor Curtis and Councillor Copeland.
Councillor Canis, you okay with that friendly amendment?
Yeah, that was the date I assumed.
Yeah, I just said, I was reading it, said at a later date. Are you okay with that, Councillor Pelkman? Any other comments? Councillor Wilsey? I see your hand kind of there, Bo. I'll go to you next.
Just want to see if there was any response to mine, or if it was just taken as a comment and there'll be no response to the thought about future implementation, how long it's going to take, and if it's within this budget year. Because you accepted it as a comment, but I didn't hear any response.
Okay. I'm not sure who your question was aimed to, just sort of, was it to the CAO or the,
It has to be
the
to
council as a whole?
It has to be to the CAO because no one else knows about the timelines.
Okay.
Through the chair, that is what the implementation plan is going to talk about, is the prioritization of the content of this plan and the timeline for completion to see if that is council's, matches council's wish for the priorities and for the timelines that are being proposed.
Councillor Derbyshire.
Any part of this that needs to be dealt with and closed, will we do that the 18th too, or will that be done later down the road, or what's kind of, because obviously there's.
I've got the gist of your question, okay. Councillor. Yep.
It will be the 18th as well.
So that's.
Yep.
So that's when we'll hear what part of that strategy is there.
Correct. Councillor Pelkman, was your hand moving there? No, you're okay. Any other questions, comments on the motion in front of you? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Okay. Last is anything else, Trish? I think that's it, just the bylaw?
That's correct.
Yep. So the bylaw is bylaw number 04-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this council meeting. That bylaw number 04-25 received first, second, third, and final reading. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. motion to adjourn at 5:40 PM. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Brennan. All in favor, carried. Again, thank you very much, Julie and Chris, for your work. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll be in touch.